And we are live. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on which country you are, which continent you are. I'm joined here by my two friends, Dustin and Lionel. You can say hello.
Hello.
So, first of
I'm
all,
here, not muted anymore. What's up?
oh, okay. It was a nice silent hello. First of all, in the chat, can everyone confirm that we are audible? You can hear us before I start using my wonderful voice. Let's see. Do we have feedback? How many people are watching? I have too many mice and too many things around me. So 24 people are watching on YouTube currently. Yes, good to go. Thank you, Dave. You have a special place in today's show. Dave gave us positive feedback. Good to go. Yeah, second and third and fourth. So let me start with a preamble over here. What I'm going to do is I'm producing, by the way, so expect things to happen. And I want to go and share my screen. Yeah, if I find it. Where's my screen? I've lost my screen now. So let me go and let's go. Is this the screen? Yep, there is a screen. So first of all, Maxon events page, where all our events, everything that's current and future, you can check things out and you can get your links here. You can select by region and so forth. So everything that's happening happens right here. Now, don't forget to visit the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel with all our amazing shows. And yeah, if you want to become a certified pro user or a certified trainer, this is the page to go and check out the elementary knowledge test, the online tests we have here, which are free and just give you a general sense of how well you know Cinema 4D to a certain extent. And then we have the pro user certification and the trainer certification. All details are here. Next, ongoing is the design and animation tour. I think this was, May 11th. In a few days, it's in Denver. So how to open a banana. Okay, so I'll show you how to open a banana.
I can get a banana. We can open a banana on stream.
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing, unfolding a banana in 3D and all that. We will talk about these things a bit later on. Then you can go to the Maxon merch store. This is the specific page, collections Ask the Trainer, and you need to use a special code. And what I need to do now is go to the banners and find the code. And I think the password for May is Compositing 3D. And this will give you the ability to buy any single piece of swag. All you have to do is pay for the shipping. Good. And yeah, I think I want to remind everyone, and let's go back to our screens up here. This one, do you prefer this one or do you prefer this one? This one, I like this one. Let me get rid of this. Take a screenshot, everyone, in 3, 2, 1. Boom, it's gone. So on May the 11th, just in a few days from now, in 3 days, we have an Ask the Trainer special. Oh, by the way, my camera is there. My screens are here. The control room is here. So I'm going to be looking around all the time. So on May 11th, there's going to be a special show, which is going to feature our friend Dustin Valkema. And he will do a reply to various questions. And it's going to be, he's going to be co-hosting with Dr. Thanassis and myself. We're going to try and get him in a hard place and give him some work to do. So that's
so we'll be talking about, I guess, just for reference, we'll be talking about AOVs and the follow up from last month's demystifying series, where I broke down compositing in Photoshop. So there were quite a few questions and different creative theoretical discussions that we'll be having. So it'll be pretty cool. There's a lot going on. So if you have questions, if we can post a link to the Ask the Trainer email.
It's going to be, oh, yeah. Please send your emails at, is it askthetrainer@maxon.net?
Sure.
I think it's askthetrainer@maxon.net. Send an email to Maxon so you can be told, yeah, askthetrainer@maxon.net. I think that's the one. So let me quickly introduce, for anyone that's not a regular to our show, I want to introduce my two very good friends and master trainers. And let's start from the one right next to me. So Lionel Vicidomini is a master trainer at Maxon and a teacher instructor in France at various training centers and schools. I've got this prepared, all right? Allow me to read it. He worked for many years in the broadcast industry and for advertising agency. I feel very sorry for you. I did that as well. Specializing in motion design, Lionel loves anything that moves and can be rendered, tracked, and edited. You can't track me. Now, Lionel has, amongst his training, he has a Udemy course that's all about training, and he's providing the viewers of our show with a 75% discount. All you have to do is put the promo code Maxon_DPP_May. And I need to turn here now and find the relevant banner to show it for you. Let's see. There you go. There it is. I'm a master of producing a show. It takes me a while, but I can do that. So screen grab that one, please. In 3 seconds, 2, 1, gone. Now, his name, I think it means Master Conqueror. And he is a master trainer, and he conquers and tames the hard challenges in motion graphics. I wrote that.
Let's say that.
Does it work for you, Lionel? Yeah. And my next very good friend, Dustin Valkema. Valk is the falcon. He's the falcon of images and photography. He is the Borg of real-life photography and technology. You're the Borg. Dustin Valkema is a Maxon certified master trainer, 3D generalist, and composite photographer with over 15 years of industry experience. He's now focused on education and mentorship through his company, CG Hacks, which provides VFX overlays, 3D textures, and material libraries, and other resources to bridge the gap between 2D and 3D workflows. Dustin's passion for helping others stems from his own experiences with failure. That's the most accurate thing. If you don't fail, you don't succeed. And learning from them. That's the second part. Don't only fail and learn, because if you fail without learning, these things go in weird ways. He believes that with a bit of creative tenacity, I don't have any creative anything, and a willingness to learn, anything is possible in the world of digital art. And you can find him on YouTube /@CGHacks. And I think that Dustin has something for you. Let me go and find the appropriate banner. CG Hacks. Boom. CG Hacks.
That's a whole long one. So yeah, that's a really long link. We should
that's a very long link.
But anyway, yeah, cghacks.com. It's simple. We have a pretty cool spring sale going on at the moment. So a lot of cool stuff. Check it out.
And thank you very much for that. And without further ado, the show is going to start with Lionel. That it's going to show us some very interesting stuff. And now I need to find how to get Lionel's screen, add his screen. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this for our thumbnail. 3, 2, 1, smile. Good. All right, you can stop smiling now. And then just maximize the screen. If at any point we have audio issues and you can't hear us, please let us know in the chat. And I'll be looking at the chats and all that nice stuff. Take it away, Lionel.
All right. Thank you for an introduction, Noseman. It was different. So yeah, we're going to talk about motion tracking today and what not to do when you are doing motion tracking. And also, we're going to try to differentiate between motion tracking, the different kind of motion tracking, which is camera tracking, point tracking, and planar tracking. Because depending on what you're going to do, a technique is better than another, or you can mix them. And we'll talk also about shots that are impossible to track, because that's sadly not most of the time, but it can happen very, very easily if you don't prepare your stuff in advance. Don't trust the tutorial, because when you're doing tutorials, we're using shots that we know are going to work. Most of the time in real life, when you are given a shot, there's a good chance this shot is going to be difficult to do, even more so if it hasn't been prepared in advance. It has been shot by someone who doesn't know anything about motion tracking. There is a lot of traps to avoid if you want to do anything. So I have a few examples to show today. This example here, let me resize the screen, is, for example, as you can see, this shot looks very weird because it has been undistorted. So this is a very important thing to know how to deal with lens distortion. If you don't do that, it's going to fail. This shot is interesting also because it's difficult. You would think it's easy because you have vanishing line, straight building, and so on, but this is glass buildings with a lot of mirrors, so it's going to fail if you don't do anything special, meaning if you don't take care of those reflections. So I'll try to do that live. It's going to be interesting. I also have another example. Well, let's see the final result to see. We have this shot where you can see the poster. Well, maybe you don't. The poster has been added. So this is done using planar tracking. And planar tracking is very, very, very powerful. Actually, when I'm given a shot, I'm almost always trying to do it with planar tracking because it's easy, it's fast, and it works almost every time with anything. And most of the time when you do tracking, you're just going to add flat stuff like this poster. And this shot is a good example because this one, I'm going to do it live, is very, very, very easy to do with planar tracking. But if you have, if you are asked to do something more than a flat poster, for example, to add another car with this one, then you'll need to do some 3D tracking. Well, actually, you could even cheat it with our planar tracking also. But here you have the shot. So let's just play it. You have the shot with the car, and this is done using 3D tracking. And 3D tracking is more difficult. Again, this one required a bit of work to make it work, meaning that full auto tracking is going to fail. And actually, most of the shots, I think, are going to fail with auto tracking if they haven't been prepared and so on in advance. So where I'm going to start? Maybe I could talk about this shot first because there is a lot to say with that. Let's go back to our composition. I'm going to load the After Effects composition. Yes, let's save it. And here is the composition. So to show you, this has been added. This is the original shot. And if we take a look at the image. Okay, so why is it? It looks very easy. It's easy. It's easy to do, but not that much. Because, well, let's talk first about what is really tracking. When you do tracking, you're going to use three kinds of tracking. So the point tracking, I could show it very fast here because you can do it in After Effects. So let's go here. Point tracking is the oldest form of tracking. You're just going to track one feature, one 2D feature in the shot. So in After Effects, for example, you're going to your window, sorry, and you're going to find your tracker, and then you're going to track the motion. It's going to give you this thing. And this thing is maybe the most important thing and to know about tracking, because everything is depending on that. I mean, 3D tracking, planar tracking, and camera tracking all use this thing. You have here your tracking point, which is the feature you're going to, the center of the feature, the 2D position you're going to have. This is the pattern, the small square here, meaning that it's going to look for this feature, this pattern of pixel. It's going to look from one frame to another to find the same pattern and then to deduce a motion. And then you have your search area. And in Cinema 4D, we'll see it's the exact same thing. And it will be the same thing also with Blender, with PF Track, with anything you want. They all use the same tech, meaning this center point, this pattern area, and then this search area. And so the 2D track, the usual 2D track, point track, or I call it point track, you're just going to look for a motion, a feature somewhere here. So for example, we're going to look for this one. It's going to track through the shot. And this one is going to give you a position in 2D. And that's it. So it's very easy to do, very simple. It's going to give you one single point in space. So if you want to track this point, you'll be using one track. This point will be another track. This point will be another track, and so on and so on. And well, it's going to work, but if you want to just add a text, for example, it's going to be perfect. So I could show it very quickly here. That should work very easily. Let's try for another pattern, more easy. I guess this one should be a good idea because it's pointy. Okay, we're going to try that. And then if I just launch the track, you can see it works. Then let's go back here. And you see it works perfect. Then you're going to add a null object, edit target, use the null object, apply to X and Y, and now we have a null object, which is going to follow this. And this is perfect if you just want to do something like that. Graffiti art. Okay, let's resize it. Let's put it in black maybe. I'm just going to link this to the your null. And maybe let's add also this. So let's reduce the stroke, no fill, and let's make the stroke black too. So now we have this line, and this line is also going to be controlled by this null. And that's it. You can see it works, and it's going to show this feature, and this is in 2D. So that's a good thing about it, because when you're just going to add comments on a video, for example, this is very common to just add some text, some 2D text on something, and you just want it to follow precisely this point. It's going to work, and it's very easy. But if you want to do something more, like adding a poster, then you're going to use a planar tracker. A poster is a flat surface, meaning there is no actual thickness to it, and that's very important for that. It's going to work on flat surfaces, like the wall here. So if I want to do it here, let's hide those. I'm going to use this poster. So I found it on FreePic, which is a website which gives you a lot of artwork for free. It's very, very nice to do a mock-up and something like that. So it's come from there. So this is a PSD. Just added here the crumpled paper on it. Then I put it on here a layer composition to reduce the size. Okay. So now if I put it inside there, if you want to do some planar tracking, well, you can use the planar tracking inside After Effects, which is kind of difficult to use, or you can use Skin Pin Tracker. And this is going to be very, very fast to use. So Camping Tracker is included with Maxon 1. It's in the VFX Regent, VFX suite, and it's so easy to use. So I'm not going to explain everything with that because we'll have almost one whole show about it. But just to show you how quick it is and how successful it's going to work on this wall. So I'm going to add Camping Tracker on that. I'm just going to reduce here. Well, no, let me show you first. We have here our 4 point, and you're just going to put the point wherever you want. Okay, and you're going to try to follow the flat surface. So actually, I'm going to hide to lower the opacity so I don't see this thing, and I'm just going to put that in front of the art here, and you just put your 4 points, and you're going to make sure that it follows the perspective. So you have those pointy lines here, the dash line, I mean, which are going to show you the perspective. And you can see, I would say I'm spot on, almost. Okay, something like that. And now what you just have to do is to find the layer to track, which is our graffiti here, and launch the track. So here in the middle, so let's go forward, and it's going to track it very quickly. So why I'm showing this in After Effects and not Cinema 4D, because Cinema 4D can do actually planar tracking, but it's really not its strongest suit. And you can do actually camera tracking inside After Effects, 3D tracking, but this is not the strongest suit of After Effects. I consider that if you want to do planar tracking, After Effects is a very good place. If you want to do 3D tracking, you're going to use Cinema 4D or other software. So here, if we take a look, we have our track, okay? And I'm going to do, we have our keys here. I'm going to do it the other way. You can see here the progress. And that's done, and you can see it just stay on. So now I'm going to go back with the opacity, and that's it. We're done.
Am I allowed to interject?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So what Lionel is showing now is one of the rules of VFX and motion graphics and tracking in particular. And that rule is use the right tool for the right job. You can do these things in Cinema 4D using a 3D tracker, but it's going to be much harder if you just want to put something, a poster or something like that, on a wall. And one of the things we want to emphasize on this series is you need to have the experience to be able to know what will work better or won't work better or at all for that matter, and choose the right tool. And as Lionel continues, he's going to show the equivalent thing with distortion and stuff like that. But always remember, don't shoehorn it. Don't force yourselves to use a tool that is not suitable for a particular shot. And that is the big takeaway, because using the right tool, it's actually extremely simple to do. You can spend a few hours doing this in Cinema 4D. You will succeed, but it's not worth the time. Having said that, Lionel, tell everyone, if someone wanted to do a 3D track, what little things you'd like to they'd have to for this scene, if this was necessarily, because I think you have that demo with a car. Yeah. So take it away, Lionel.
I'm going to show it because exactly as you can see, to do a planar tracking on this wall is so easy. I mean, it's perfect. Maybe not perfect, but almost perfect, because it really sticks on the wall. So if you just do a little bit of work on it, some color correction and so on, it can be very convincing. Here I put some more time on it, obviously. Made sure that the vanishing light were perfect and so on, and then just added roughen edge to roughen the edge, obviously, some levels, some hue saturation, and a bit of mojo on top of everything. And it just works. And it took me like 10 minutes to do everything. And so if you want to go further than that, and yes, also, if you can, Clipping Tracker is perfect, but if the only thing you want to do is to add some text like that, to see this feature, for example, this is not the right solution. It's better to use the usual point tracker from After Effects, which is, I think, a tool that is, I think it's at least 15 years old. Okay, it's been there for 15 years. They didn't touch it for 15 years, and it still works because this is the base of every tracker. Actually, you can see it here. If we go back to our planar tracker, it's just the 4 points being tracked, with the added feature that it's going to look for the pattern inside. So it's going to track 4 points, and those are the 4 points we get. This is a corner pin, but to make a better track, it's also going to look for the surface inside and try to match it from one frame to the other. That's why it works better than just a point tracking. And so, yes, if you want to go further than that, if you want to add a car, obviously it's not going to work because it is a flat surface. Also, if I'm going now to move my object here, for example, I would like to have it here, I will need to do another track. It's going to work only on this place. I'm simplifying it because actually you can move it this way, but it's better to do another track. If you want to put something on the sidewalk, this will be another track. If you want to put something on the headlights here, that will be another track. On the windshield, that will be another track, and so on and so on. You got it. But if you want to add a 3D car, that's another problem because it's a full 3D object, and planar tracking won't do it. I mean, you can cheat it, but it's going to be very difficult. And then you're going to go to full 3D tracking. So in After Effects, you could do it if you go back to the tracker and here use the track camera. And it's pretty good as long as it works, meaning that if you have a difficult shot, it's going to fail and you will not be able to do much with it because it's very limited. It's very easy to use, but very limited. So I won't show it. And instead, we'll go to Cinema 4D. So this is the final shot. I'm going to redo it in another file. So let's go. So I'm on the tracking. Here, our tracking workspace, which is easier to work with. I'm going then to the tracker here and load the motion tracker. If you want to do a full 3D solve, you can do it here. And maybe I will do it to show that it mostly works, but not that much. Okay, so let's go to the full solve.
And I would advise that whenever you are prepared to track a shot, give it a shot. Pardon my pun. Just try and see if the Cinema 4D tracker is going to do a good job. It's good to be experienced to know beforehand if it's going to fail or not, but giving it a shot is not a bad thing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, it works. We have a 3D track, but it's not perfect. It's not perfect because, as you can see, we have a slight problem. I would say we have several problems actually. We don't have much feature on the sidewalk here. I mean, on the road, we do have some on the sidewalk here. You can see we have many red tracker, which means those are bad tracker. And actually, it didn't do. It confused some stuff. This one looks very weird, for example. Yeah, you can see the problem here.
Yeah, this is one of those things where the tracker thinks that the feature is correct. So it gives it a high confidence, which is green, and a low confidence, which is red. And yet it's wrong. The confidence is based pretty much on the feature quality. So if you have a mirror in there, something around a shiny surface. If the reflection is clear, then the tracker will insist that, no, but this is a clear little feature. I'm going to keep tracking this. Where in fact, because it's a reflection, it's going to be totally wrong. Lionel, can you do me a favor? Can you go and select the camera, go to the top view? And so if you select and you go to the top view, you can see, and if you scrub, you'll see that the camera direction is not bad. It sees the wall. Those green lines indicate the wall. So it has done an okay-ish job, but depending on the quality of the track that you need, you will need to augment it. But this is an example of a scene where the tracker did something interesting. You could get away with some sort of track if your object is not touching the floor. Yeah, I may bring this up later. Keep going.
So yeah, as you said, we could use it. You could use it. Actually, it's not bad. It's not bad, but obviously there is some problem with that and so on, and different things. So what we could do is use these automatic track and just try to make it better. So let's go here to our motion tracker, and I will load just this toolbar here. I'm going to put it here so it'll be more easy to see what's going on. So actually what you're going to see here are the 3D track, which are points in 3D position. This is the result of the track. And those tracks, those 3D features, comes from 2D features, the 2D tracks. If I click there, we can see the 2D tracks. And those 2D tracks are none other than the one we saw in After Effects. So just imagine that you're going in After Effects to add a whole bunch of things we see here, those. So every one of the point you can see in Cinema 4D here is actually one of these points. And it's going to compare the 2D position of all these points and then project it from a virtual camera. So the math are very complicated. I'm not going to bother you with that, but it all depends on the 2D tracks you have done, meaning that, again, it's using a very simple tech to do the track. And because the computer is dumb, it's going to look for automatic track in all sort of wrong places. And for example, we have tracks here, we have features in mirrors, in windows, and those are not going to work.
Can I throw in one more thing?
Yes.
The way the automatic tracks are based, as far as I remember, I was told by one of the developers, is that it looks for high contrast areas.
Yeah.
Because the tracker does not work using color, it works using luminance. So if you make your image black and white, it chooses one of the color channels or the overall luminance. So it will go and place more trackers where it finds adjacent pixels that have a high contrast, because that's supposed to be a more, let's say, visible feature. Yep, keep going.
Exactly. That's why we have a lot of trackers on the text, because those are perfect. I mean, trackers. It's perfect. This is very, very good to have that kind of thing, because it's very good. Though this one, for example, is a bit weird, but this one is tolerable because there is contrast, all right? But because it's reflecting something which is not on the plane, it's just going to throw off the track. So why does it work? Why does it work? Because we have so many of them, trackers, that it's going to average them all. And thus, if you have trackers which are wrong, and we have plenty of wrong trackers here, they're going to be some kind of drawn out. They're going to be erased, I would say, by the good trackers, because we have more good trackers. All those are good trackers than wrong trackers. But this is going to give you, I would say, the okay solve, not a good solve. So what I'm going to do here is just make sense and delete those things. So I can say in the comments, there is Zaidi saying that my process is masking and so on. Yes, this is a very good idea. You could use the mask, which is inside here. You can here create mask.
I can. I'm going to show something in that respect in a very quick shot to mention it. But yeah, masking is a good process.
Is a good process. This is not the one I use because you have to track the mask itself almost so that it works. So here, what I'm going to do is just delete those ones because they don't make sense. I mean, I won't bother with that because they're wrong. So I'm just going to delete, and maybe this one could be kept. Okay, those are very bad too. You can see on the left corner. So this is very common because don't forget every time that the computer is dumb. Even though we have AI doing some artwork now, most of the software are just, I would say, yeah, stupid because they don't know they're working on an image. They just see pixels and they're comparing pixels from one frame to the other. And here we have the sliding tracker, which is very bad, as you can see. Why? Because this is a repetitive pattern. You can see the bricks are high contrast and so on. That's pretty good. But because they are so much like one another, they are so much identical, that it's going to confuse one brick with another brick. And this is why it fails. Also, it's too close from the border. So let's delete those. And we have, this is a very bad one, and this is a bad one too. That's why I'm going to take time to delete part of them. And sometimes it's better to just do some planar tracking. I'm going to try to go faster. Let's delete those. And
let's keep the tradition of overrunning the show. Just one thing to remember: mathematically, you need 7 high quality features, 7 high quality features. But high quality is not a single thing. They need to have heavy parallax while the camera is moving. So you can have 7 very good features, but the features being in such positions that it doesn't produce the data that the tracker needs.
Yes,
so
exactly.
These are things, nuanced information we will touch upon as we move forward. But the magic number is 7, and what qualifies this 7 is high quality 3D tracks, not high quality features.
Exactly. For example, those tracks here, I think we have more than 8 or 9 trackers, but that wouldn't be enough because they are all on the same plane. That's not enough for the tracker. It cannot guess any parallax or whatever with it, so it doesn't work. So another example here, you have this tracker which is sliding because it's on the edge. Those are very bad tracker too. Don't put anything on the edge with low contrast like that. So it's fading miserably. I'm going to delete it. And I'm just looking here in the shot for bad tracker. I guess this one could be kept. Why not? And we have some more in the windows. And that's interesting. As you can see, we have almost none here on the road because the road is very low contrast. And it cannot figure out anything to do with it. This one is bad also. This is in a shadow. Shadow are a bad place because it's actually hovering, I think, on the... I'm going to delete it. The key point here is don't hesitate to go berserk and to delete a lot of tracker because like Noseman said, you only need 7 good tracker. I mean, it's better to have 15 good trackers than 100 bad ones. Ready. And it's very easy to think that because I have a lot of tracker, everything is going well. So this one is very bad too. That's interesting to see also that even though we have so many bad tracker, he managed to do something. We could have used this this shot. Okay, this one is bad. All right, and also you see all the one in the border are bad. Okay, I think they will do. I mean, it's not, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. Just to show you, by doing that, we will have a better solve. So as soon as you delete stuff, you will see that we lose our 3D tracks and we lose also our camera. That's normal. We just need to launch again the solve. So I go into the 3D solve, and we're going to launch the solve. It should be very quick. And we have a new result. Now I can go back to my 3D tracks. And the result makes more sense. So I wish on Cinema 4D we had an average error, which is a statistic you can have on other tracker. It gives you a good idea of the quality of the track. You have it in After Effects, for example. But here I would say it looks good. So now I'm just going to finish. So actually, no, I should spend more time on that. If you're going too fast on the track, you're going to lose time afterwards. So it's better to lose time, to spend time on it first, than to do some crappy work and then go back and redo it from scratch.
It's the measure twice, cut once, right?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, in tracking, because this is the base for everything else. If you find out too late that your tracking is bad, you need to redo almost everything. Because
I thought it was measure once, make something else. I may be wrong.
Okay, so I'm going to add the constraint here, because even though we have a 3D track, it's not placed. If I add some figure or mannequin or whatever, I don't know where it's going to show up. So we're going to just place here our track. So position constraint, we have a point here, and I'm going to put the point, for example, let's put it, well, not on the red marker because those are average. I don't have very good points for this one. Okay, let's try this one, then I will correct it maybe later. Then I'm going to use another marker constraint with the planar constraint. And for this, we can use the wall. So I'm going to use this one. So you need at least 3 points to have a planar constraint.
But you can add more in the list. So if you have a bunch of points, you can go and pick them in that little list you see on the bottom right.
Yes, and that's what I'm going to do, because we have more points here. So let's add another one. So now we have 4. And that's weird because, oh yes, it takes, yeah, that's all right. Okay, so reverse axis, we are on Y, which is pretty good, but I'm just going to reverse the axis. So we have Z on this axis. Remember the axis, oh yes, it's not the Z, I thought I was in Blender. So in Cinema 4D, the Y axis is up. So
did you say airbender? I didn't hear that.
I knew what was happening.
all right, on X, now it works. And you can see we have the Y axis, Z, and so on. And we're almost done, because that's enough, I would say. So one last tracker here is the vector constraint. Vector constraint is going to give you 2 points. So yeah, also I'm going back on the footage and decrease the brightness because I can't see anything. All right, let's go back to our vector, and I'm going to take this one again to this one. So it gives me a vector, which is going to be the Y vector, and it's going to give me a distance. So here, let's say the window, a guy on the street, I would say this height is maybe 150 centimeter. Maybe 170 centimeter. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, it gives you a sense of scale for this scene. Okay, and now if I just add, for example, our figure, it's going to appear to the 0 point, which is there. So this is well, I guess I shouldn't do that, but if I'm going to take here this tracker, which is a red tracker, so I don't feel very comfortable to do that, but if I put it there, now we have our guy sitting on the sidewalk. I think it will be okay, yes.
All right, the one thing everyone needs to, can you zoom in on his legs?
I think no,
With the tracker, with the, will it show it? Go to another,
oh
let's
yes,
see.
you can do it. Well, you have the
that is my point. The point I'm trying to make is that when you want to see if a track is good, you look for sliding. So if the feet or anything that touches the ground is not sliding, then your track can be considered good. And the sliding is subjective. If you can't see the sliding, then it's fine. For things that are not touching the ground, it actually doesn't really matter, because when something is floating, we don't have a sense 100% where it resides in space. So it could be anywhere. You can get away with all sorts of errors, even with a very bad track, as long as the motion is similar to the actual camera motion. But in cases where objects need to touch the ground, that's where the sliding is more obvious. That's what we need to focus and moonwalk, as Zaidi said.
It looks okay, even though this is a red tracker, because yes, I really went too fast. I mean, in real life, I would take twice as much or 3 times more time to do that.
That's shameful. It's shameful, Lionel. You should do it quick and dirty, and if no one notices, you can just.
Well, this is quick and dirty, and I'm pretty pleased with the result, because I don't see any sliding actually. It looks okay.
Okay, I want you to show us the Undistort workflow. You're spending too much time on stuff that both of us have shown. Move on. I want to see the Undistort, because this is exciting. This shows one of the fundamental principles that tie in the real world, how cameras work, and how we can solve I would say the biggest problem in tracking is when a lens has distortion. Take it away, Lionel.
Because we don't have any distortion here. And that's funny, because if you take a look at the video, you can see something strange here. You see? On the upper part, it looks like this footage has been undistorted. It's a bit weird. I didn't notice it at first, but this is not, I haven't done anything with it, but I think the platform sending the stuff, or the author of the video, did some preliminary undistortion, so that we have straight line, and that's why the tracking works pretty well. But sometimes you don't have that, and even though it's weird that you didn't crop the video, because you have some black stuff on it, it's very weird. So yes, let's see the problem with distorted track. Just to finish here, so yes, now I could add here a car and so on. It's pretty easy, and I could add a poster there. Because it's green, but I don't think it would be as smooth and as good as the planar tracking. This is already if you want to add a 3D object. Okay, so moving on. Let's see our skyscraper, because this is a difficult shot. Okay, so this is the original video. Let's make it bigger. And I guess we can launch. Okay, so why is it bad?
Can I make a note before you say that? Can I make a note? The overall general concept behind lenses is that the wider the lens, the more distortion. Now, of course, there are exceptions. There are wide lenses that have corrections and stuff like that. But this is the general gist of it. The wider the lens, the more you get that spherical distortion. The more zoomed the lens, a lens that has an infinite focal length will give you an isometric view without any perspective. So those are the two, let's say, extremes.
Exactly. And actually, every lens has distortion. Even if you think there is no distortion, there is always a little bit of distortion. When the distortion is very, very slight, very low, you can get by with it. You don't need to distort. It will lead to errors, but as you have seen, errors are averaged, so that can work. But if you really want to be professional, you should undistort your lens for every shot. But nobody ever do that because nobody knows. And I guess, yeah, that's why you need to hire a VFX supervisor because he will do it, I hope.
I'm supposed to say that. Don't steal my lines.
But in this case, it's very obvious that there is distortion. And of course, the tracking is going to fail because, well, it makes sense. It can't work. So there's that. Then there is another big problem here. We have a lot of reflection window everywhere. And I can tell you it's going to track the reflection of the building here and gives you a very incorrect result. So we need to deal with those two. So in After Effects, you can very easily undistort thing. I'm going to put all that in an old folder so I don't get confused with it. Okay, so this is our original composition. Also, I'm going to close all this. Yes, okay. Now I'm going to put it in a composition. And we're going to use the wonderful Lens-distortion matcher. So this is a plugin on the VFX suite, which is going to undistort your stuff. So you have the plugin here, and just need now to draw lines. So I'm going to make it bigger. And you're just going to look for lines. And let's try, for example, here. I'm going to click there, then there, then there, and you get the idea.
Apparently, it has some sort of bicubic interpolation. So you just click on points, and the curve is going to be generated by the algorithm, just so that you know.
And here you can see, consider switching lens type to fisheye. Well, obviously, this is a fisheye lens, so let's do it. Fisheye. Okay, now let's go back to our composition. And I will continue drawing the line.
Oh, and by the way, usually one line would make it work. That's one of the interesting things, how good this tool is. You can get away. I think if you undistort now, it will do a terrific job.
Yeah, it's going to mostly to work. I'm going to draw another line though, because let's do it properly, but it works pretty well. Also, what you can do is draw a line from one point to the other and add points in between. And you actually don't even need to add so many points. I just want to make it.
It looks more fancy. It looks more fancy. You know, you can charge more.
You don't need to add so many points. So here I'm going to hit escape to escape the line. I'm going to draw another one. So let's go there, 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 and there. And to have the best result, it's pretty good. This one doesn't need it, but to add a line in this direction here. But there is almost no distortion in this direction. Okay, so for example, now let's go here. And now if I just do remove distortion, you can see it removed the distortion. And now it's perfectly straight. And this is what you're going to track. So actually, not really, because what you're going to do is create Undistortion Precomp. So if I click there, we will have several compositions created. So this is the original. And we can see here the undistorted work, and here the low angle undistorted.
And that's interesting to see what the undistort algorithm does, where it stretches it out in order to straighten those lines.
And you can see this is very heavy deformation. This is why you couldn't do it with the 3D track. And here, just to show you the idea, is if I create a solid, so make it comp size. Now I'm going to reduce the size. Not that much. Okay, and I'm going to use a corner pin. And I just put it there, and there, there, and there. Okay, we have this, and now if I go to the final composition, you can see it's being distorted back.
It always amazes me how, you know, you click a few times, it straightens things out. You go to the stretched one, you add a rectangle, you go back to this, and you have a curved thing. And by the way, everything that Lionel showed with the kingpin and so forth, you can actually apply it on an undistorted image and then redistort it to get everything properly distorted. And that's pure magic.
And here, so this is going to be used for the tracking. Okay, you could do it even in After Effects. We could use kingpin tracker again, but because of all the reflection, well, it's going to be difficult. So here, I did render this in advance on JPEG. And then let's go to Cinema 4D.
Show the final result. It's 2.5 minutes to the hour.
Yes. Even more so because this is a difficult shot. So this is the final composition. And I added some hot air balloon, and it works. So we have everything that works. And let me tell you that I had to use a lot of user features. So I will just show that very quickly. All the 2D tracking, you have the automatic tracking, and in the end, I added all that. Well, 8 of them. That's not that many. But I added some manual tracking, and I had to almost track it by hand because of all the reflection. And those were very important to get a good track. Okay, so this one took time. This is why I couldn't do it in 10 minutes. Impossible. This one took me like almost an hour to get it right. Okay,
that's shameful. That's shameful. You spend an hour.
The automatic tracking first, and of course it made some. I mean, it was terrible. Then I added manual track. It was still terrible, so I added even more, and at the end I got this. Okay, so let's go back here to our stuff. I put our different constraint and added our hot air balloon, and I just added in Cinema 4D standard render because I didn't have time to have some very standard render, so like that. Okay, and this is the file I output, and then inside here, I'll go back to my project, the old, see the final one. So we have our undistorted work. Let's go there, and I just put my balloon there. So we have the render. You can see it follows everything. And the final result, undistorted. Which one is it? Yeah, this one. And you can see, obviously, our balloon are undistorted.
Yeah, as a note, there are some third-party trackers out there that actually do the process of undistorting as part of their tracking process. But with Maxon One, you have all these tools. You have the undistorting tools, you have the redistorting tools, you have the tracking tools, and so forth. But just to let you know, before anyone else says it, there is software out there that does the whole thing. But they don't have good-looking people like us presenting it.
So yeah, just a note here, you can see it's weird just because I put this balloon too far on the left. So it's intersecting in 2D space with the 2D space. It just looks weird, but you can see on the other, it just works. And to be honest, the track is not perfect because I added a plane here to see how it matches. It's pretty good, but if I wanted to have proper reflection of the hot air balloon here, I will need to do an even better track so that I will have proper reflection. But even here, it works pretty well. I mean, just the fact to have the motion is good. And as Noseman said, because there is nothing touching anything, there is no ground, it's just floating in the air, we can get by very easily with mistakes, with errors. This is still a very average track, but it works very well because it's just floating in the air. So it's a cheat, but it works.
It
Well, I
does
feel
work
like
indeed. Go ahead.
I feel like this is kind of what we've talked about quite a bit, even last week. In that if it looks right, it is right, and this is like, why spend, somebody, I could easily spend a week on this shot, and making sure everything is perfect and in production. You want to make sure it's all great. And, the final result here looks good. Like most people wouldn't really notice that, your track is slightly off.
I think most people protest balloons in the middle of a city.
Right. Exactly.
And let's not forget, in real life, the balloons do not sit still. They move up and down a bit. They get blown by the wind. So if anyone says, oh, the balloon is moving slightly faster than the buildings, all you can say is that I simulated the wind. You can always cover. Okay. Lionel, do you have anything else exciting to show us? Because I have another 2 hours of stuff to show. So everyone here.
Just one last thing. A trick, because our camera is a bit shaky. So one very quick and dirty way to solve that procedurally is use the animation tag, the track modifier, and you're going to use, because this is all keyframe, you're going to use a smooth, and then maybe you're going to reduce the strength. It's just going to smooth your camera, and it's going to average again everything, but we will have less jittery stuff because I'm a maniac. I mean, I see here there is a slight jerk somewhere here. This is the only thing I can see.
No one saw it. No one saw it, and now everyone can see it. Never do that.
Yes.
Never point out something that you can only see. Lionel,
here
now you have to fix it.
You are not clients. Of course, I wouldn't do that with clients. So we have a strength here, and now, well, it's been average, and well, the mistake is going to show less. That's a quite efficient way to smooth things. Don't over exaggerate that, of course, because it's going to, in the end, to make just a straight line, it's not going to work. But that's pretty neat trick, I think.
The best way the best way to fix mistakes is to avoid, pointing them out. There's nothing better than that. Okay, so let me grab the screen. Let me just show you our faces because everyone wants to see our faces. How's everyone doing? I have a few things to show. I'm going to try and keep it quite short. I think they're going to be interesting, but I can't promise anything. So this is my scene, and I'm going to talk about, well, untrackable shots. Why? What can you do? And the point that Lionel brought up about hiring or becoming a VFX supervisor. So I have this scene that was donated to me by Seth and Hashi, our two VFX and Chill super hosts. Watch them every Friday. And you can see it's, I think this is an anamorphic, something Panavision lens or something like that. I don't understand these things. And basically it's a camera that sort of pans, then goes, that's a dolly. So it dollies, and then it starts pointing upwards, and then it does this, and then it just tracks towards the right. Now, this is one of those scenes that pretty much totally fails.
Mm.
And if I go to Cinema 4D over here, and let me go and load, this is another one. I'm going to try and find this. All right. So the reason this fails to begin with, and I'm just going to start a new one, go to track view, double click here, and I'm going to go and drag the footage in here, and that footage is on my other monitor, and it's called Impossible Track. And this is going to be a reply to some of the questions that were asked. So this is how the footage file looks like. In these particular cases, when you have some sort of non-standard pixel size, choose one of the drop-downs or change the film aspect. This is Panavision now, 2.39 by 1, and that's it. Just don't forget to go to your camera and set the final resolution. The final resolution, or you set the film aspect or the pixel aspect in order to render if you want to do to match the resolution, but that's for something else. Now, the other thing you need to be aware of is the resampling. So this is quite a high resolution image, 2880 by 2160. And here it's resampling down to 640 by 480. What I usually do is I want it to be around the HD resolution, so you can see maybe 1920 or 2000 by something like that. I think 65% was what I did over here. But it doesn't mean that you always need the highest fidelity. Now, that sounds counterintuitive, but depending on your shot, a less detailed shot sometimes gives the tracker an easier job to do, especially if you don't require extreme accuracy. And the amount of time you need to spend, as Lionel pointed out, is sometimes exponential. If you want something 2 times better, you may need to work on it 4 times more. Now, there's no real math behind that, but just so that you know, the more accurate you want your track, you'll need to add a lot of work. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at 65. And what I'm going to do here, just by the way, I'm on the tracking layout. That's convenient. Bring this up, put it over here, and let's do a full solve and watch this fail miserably. It's going to take about 15 seconds to load the footage into memory. The first thing is to load all the footage into memory, then start applying the tracks, the features, find the features, and then try and create a solve from these features. And it's going to fail. So I hope you're not anticipating anything. The main reason for this failing, and the good thing is that this is happening in the background, so we can even scrub through. What's missing from this image here while it's doing its thing is, let's pay attention to the features generated here. So forget about this character because the character is moving. I can mask it, I can do all those kind of things. The problem with this move is that the clear features, which is not the ground has some features, but they're unclear, they're blurry. So the tracking is not going to be precise. The clear features are the tree, and the tree is quite narrow. And as the camera is moving, and it's moving laterally to the tree, there is not enough parallax generated. So the distance between the points is not changing enough to provide enough information to extract the camera motion. And there are 2 things that happen when you're tracking. One is determine the camera orientation, which is similar to doing a planar track. And that is assuming the features stay in the same relative positions and they move across the scene. That indicates that the camera is panning. All you have to do to see that is use your camera to point at the sky, at the stars, and just move your camera around, pivot around. And what you will see is the same constellation, exactly the same one, in a different part of your viewfinder. You won't see any differences between the distances of the stars, because there is, as far as we're concerned, because we're very far away, there is no parallax. So a planar track, or a nodal pan, as it's called in 3D, is pretty much the same math. Now, when it comes to 3D, what needs to happen? Now, I want you to observe this area around here where I'm circling my mouse. If the camera is moving and you're getting closer to the tree, the relative distances need to change. If they become bigger, the camera is moving forward towards these features. If they're becoming smaller, then the camera is moving away. And that's what happens for every feature and every track. So let's go and see what this did. It finished. If you want to see, go to your solved camera, go to the top view, zoom in, and you will see that, oh, the camera just pivots. And that's because there are not enough features to provide information to the tracker about the camera movement. There are just some features that are moving in the background, and the information they are providing is for rotation. So the tracker becomes totally confused. It only solves for the first, 37 frames, and the track is terrible. Now, there is part of this track which is trackable without doing anything to the image. Now, after the camera points upwards and starts bringing in the trees, so I think around 120. So let me go here and say 120. Let me go to the motion tracker and say, I want to start from 120. I do them both because I don't know which one works. And what I'm going to do now is, with the tracking set to 120 to 171, I'm going to go and do a full solve again. It's going to discard everything else. It did. And let's see if this is going to provide us with anything better. And look at that. We are getting this side view. Now, it's pointing in the wrong direction. We're going to fix that. What this tells us, sorry? Oh, I can hear my own voice, which is quite pleasing, to be honest. What this tells us is that sometimes you will find that your automatic tracking is going to fail at the beginning or at a certain point, and it's not going to continue after that, because it will only track what appears to be continuous trackable footage. Just by omitting the part of the footage that is problematic, you can get a much better, and this track, as far as I can tell, is actually pretty good. It's pretty good. I can actually go and drop in a tree. I think I have a tree somewhere around here. That's another tree. That's another thing I'm going to show in a second. I think this is it, because you can see the Y going up. There you go. So here you go. I've added a tree, and barring any viewport glitches, that you can add your new foliage if you want to do something. So number one, if your whole scene cannot be tracked from end to end, you can track the portion that can. And then as far as tying it with the rest of the movie, well, that's a totally different story. You may have to do it manually. You may have to do it in post. You may have to introduce a cut or something like that. Now, let's go back to this original one and see what else we can do to the image. Now, remember I told you that the trackers internally, they view a luminance version. So what I did here, only black and white, what I did here, I took the footage and I did a few things to it. I did a set channels blue, so I'm only using the blue channel. You can identify parts of your footage where you get the better fidelity, contrast, information. Information is the best word, from one of the three channels. Internally, the tracker does that. I added some curves to make it a bit more, bring out some of the detail. Now this, I think it's been shot with a good camera, so I don't think it has a lot of compression. And the more dynamic range you have with your camera, you're going to have a better result because you can extract more actual information. Then I applied a sharpen filter. Although it's not always advised, it may give you some interesting results. And then an extra levels here. I just changed the levels just to add a bit more contrast and to spend a bit more time because, I try to show that I'm busy. It's very important to always show that you're busy. So here I took this now and I inserted this track. And this is what was produced by the automatic tracker. Look at the tree as compared. Remember that original one we did? There was no defined features. And look at this. We are getting a much better solve. And that's just by changing the colors. Look at that. It can tell that the camera is moving forward and then pointing upwards. So changing the colors to a point where you discard any information that just confuses the tracker, and giving the tracker some raw footage. When I render, if I render this little ball I've put here, and I'm composite it, I'm going to composite it over the color footage, right? So tracking using a black and white version with any effects that make it a more easy piece of footage to track is always a good idea. And the result is this, automatic, good track. Now, let me go back to why this was failing and what you could have done if you were shooting it, the day you were shooting it. The biggest problem here is that because the camera is doing a relatively small motion as compared to the bulk of the scene, if you look at everything to the left of the tree and everything to the right of the tree, which occupies big space, which is space is what features in space is what gives us the information. You will see that over here we have nothing. And over here, we have features that are so far away that the amount of movement from the camera is not enough to catch those differences in parallax. That's why the automatic tracking of this image, the enhanced image, is actually picking up only the tree, because that's where it finds the largest amount of information. And funny enough, it totally ignores this character here because the features are moving all over the place and there's too much error. There's some parameters which you will see in the tutorials. I posted the link in this university tutorial, and you can go and watch Lionel's tutorial. Here we have the filter tracks, and basically you can tell the tracker, well, if a feature doesn't track continuously for at least 15 frames, discard it because it's not going to offer us any information. The same thing for things like smart acceleration, error threshold, minimum acceleration, and all that. And all these are parameters that I largely explain. Now, if you were to shoot this, or if you hired a VFX supervisor that's worth their weight in gold, because that's what they need to pay VFX supervisors with, pure gold, is that it would be a very simple solution. All you had to do is put some stuff, maybe ping pong balls, maybe go on the ground and put some spokes with colors, and let's go and see the actual footage. This is the actual footage. You can see this is all green. What is the best way to get contrast from green? Red. So you can go all white or black in this particular case, because this is quite light. You get ping pong balls, you get skewers from the dollar store. It'll cost you $1.39 Canadian. I think that's 3 cents American. And you get a hot glue gun or crazy glue or gorilla glue. And I am not sponsored by these companies. Wouldn't mind that though. And stick those ping pong balls on the sticks and put them, if you want to define the ground, make sure that their elevation is constant. Now you can use a laser level. I have one, by the way, or just approximate it, because this shot here, you don't need extreme accuracy because everything is sitting on the grass. There is some fuzziness on the grass that will make your composite, when you put your 3D object in here, to appear that it's not sliding. So the ways to mask it. By the way, everything we make for VFX and motion graphics is fake. I have to say it every single time. Nothing is real. So this particular shot, despite this motion here, which will pose, this one here is the one that causes so much trouble because everything is has so much motion blur. And then we have the flare. Looks good, terrible for tracking. Do something about the lens flares and then add them in post. That's my suggestion. We have real lens flare, and it produces lens flares realer than real. Is that, I think, realer than real? But you can actually emulate this. So what you would do to catch the floor, ping pong balls, spray paint, and souvlaki sticks, or skewers as they call them in international language. Souvlaki is the Greek one. And just put them around here. And because they're quite small, all they need to occupy is just a bit of space so they're visible. Even if they're a dot, if that dot is consistent, it will be caught by the tracker, or you can manually track it, as long as there's contrast between these. And then you can use some sort of effect in After Effects. What's that thing with fill? Yeah, oh my God, I remember fill.
Content aware.
A content aware fill, PHIL.
Oh
And
my goodness, I have been muted this entire time.
you have. It was very quiet. It was very quiet here. So let's give Dustin 30 seconds to get it off his chest. What did you want to say?
Oh no, I've just been making fun comments, I guess, to myself. So
we missed the comedy. I'm gonna get you guys to record your microphones. We can't miss the outtakes and all that. Anyhow, so this would have been a very interesting and very simple solution, just using skewers to catch the floor. Maybe stick a few here on the tree. Don't puncture the tree. You can use some sort of tape or I don't know, some sort of sticky thing to put them here, or tie them with wires. And the idea is to fill in the areas of where you're filming with information in between the extremes, the camera plane and the background. So in this particular case, because we know that the camera is going to move and lose the floor, maybe you can put a rope against two trees and hang a couple of things over there as well, as long as these features will be visible throughout 15 or 20 frames at any given moment. So that will be solution number one. Another solution is to shoot a bit slower. It's easier to say, okay, from this point onwards, I want a quick a quick pan upwards and just retime it, rather than trying to track this, because here is a horror. This is the terror of anyone that does tracking. There's absolutely not a single feature which you can estimate exactly its position. Now, there are some tricks. You can go and estimate, you can put it at the corner of a motion blur streak, right? You can put it here, or you can put it at the center of a motion blur streak. But you have to account, if you're going to add motion blur to your render, where that is going to appear, so the motion blur appears correct. But you can see everything is streaking. So this portion from this point onwards, from 1 minute approximately, all the way to here, you will need to put in a lot of work if you are working with this footage. It could have been avoided. It doesn't mean that it would have been automatically tracked, but these are the very simple things you can do if you're going out shooting. Now, sometimes you're lucky because the environment itself offers you all those features, but here, because we have this depth of field blurry thingy going on, the features that are trackable are the face. You can track the transition between the sleeve and the background. You may be able to track some features here in the foreground as we move forward, but the best you would ever be able to do is track the first 40 frames automatically, and from this point onwards, you have to kneel down, look up, and beg for some help. So you need to learn, if you're doing your own shots, how to do it. And it's not difficult. You can experiment. You can use your phone, or you can use a cheap camera. Shoot things experimentally. Take measurements between features so that you can align your constraints, and do survey shots, which is, if you go and watch my Cineversity tutorial, it shows what a survey shot is. You just do a nice little pan around. I call everything pan, like most people do. Yeah, there are names. There's this nice little chart that says what's a pan, what's a dolly, what's a truck shot, and all that. I call them pans. And I apologize beforehand, but that's what comes easy to me. And that will allow you to estimate the camera focal length, which is absolutely never the one written on the box, unless your lens costs a lot of money. But if you have that lens, you can hire someone. So The idea would be when you're shooting by yourselves, remember you can remove stuff more easy than going to try and track something that has been shot just what's it called? Just randomly shot because it served a certain purpose. It's better to do some concessions when you're shooting because otherwise you won't be able to track if that's the case. So here on the ground, a few small thin poles with little balls would give enough information between your foreground and your background characters to allow this to track to a better degree. So let me show you some other examples here of various things which are. Let's check this one.
Just
Okay.
wanted to add,
Yes,
yeah,
please.
everything is due to this disease. Fix it in post. No, don't fix it in post. Do it before, during the production, by estimating the stuff. It's really worth the time. I mean, you said, Noseman, when I was working in advertisement, you complained me. Yes, because so many times I had to do horrible tracks, horrible green screen, because the client were so cheap, they wouldn't afford anything. And it was just pure hell to work on that. And when
Yes.
when you have proper shot, it's so easy, and the result is nice. I mean, the quality is there, because even though you're going to be able to do something, in the end, it's going to look, well, average at most, because it's almost impossible. So, yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true. We can fix an enormous amount of things in post. Now, the question is, if you're going to choose between things you're going to fix in post, it's better to choose the ones that come at the latter stage and not the ones that come to the at the former stage. So better shoot a shot that is suitable for tracking. And then if you need to fix anything in post and touch it up and make it look beautiful, that's a better process rather than taking, I'm going to call it GIGO, the garbage in, garbage out. Getting footage, and technically garbage, right? Not artistically garbage. You take something that's not suitable for tracking, you have to fix it, then you have to do everything, and then you have to fix it again because the post process is going to happen. Now, I'm going to show you this scene here. And this is an ideal scene to show what you should not attempt. I told you so. Write that on a piece of paper. And when you try to track a shot like this, pull that paper that says, Noseman, told you so. Lionel, told you so. And Dustin disappeared. There he is again.
I'm here.
Oh,
So
you're away for a second.
yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I think I pressed a hotkey somewhere. So Michael also asked a good question here.
Yep.
Would it be better to shoot at a higher frame rate or a slower camera move?
In theory, but it's not required. The higher frame rate or smaller camera move, from a technical perspective, is not any different. The difference is in how you move. So if you are comfortable doing your own slower moves while retaining the artistic aspect, the story you're trying to tell, then film in standard FPS, because we know that high quality cameras that can shoot high definition or ultra high definition at higher frame rates are not cheap. So when I personally give advice, it's for someone that buys garbage like me. I buy secondhand things. I inherit all my family's old kit. So I do have a camera that's 640 by 480. I will not use that, just saying. So what are the probabilities? If you do have a camera that shoots higher frame rates, use it by all means. But you need to know how to use it, and you need to have a good quality. So it's up to you, but both methods will produce footage that is better to track, easier to track than not doing it.
And either way,
yep.
Yeah, either way preparing, right? So like you said, it's preparing for things to go a little bit sideways. It's easy. Like I personally use gaff tape, if I'm looking for things to track and whatnot. And that's something I generally have in my
Exactly.
kit. You just throw
Yep.
little squares of gaff tape here and there and give yourself a few trackers.
Well, the only person I know that pulls out an iPhone, shoots something, and it's correct is Hashi. Yeah, and I understand the the impulse of pulling out your phone, shooting something, and then trying to do something with that footage. It's very appealing, right? I do it all the time, and I fail pretty much 101% of the time. If you know what the constraints of the technology you're going to apply are, or the constraints of your kit, your camera, and all that, it's like lighting. I'd love to be able to have a camera that shoots in absolute darkness. All right. But we know that technically that's extremely hard, or the image is going to be grainy and so forth. This is another aspect. If you want correct lighting, if you want correct framing, if you want to put in your footage, add those correct elements about making a beautiful movie. If you're going to do tracking, make sure that you shoot it in a way that can be tracked.
And it all boils down to experience, right? So this is
Yep.
why you fail often and learn.
Exactly.
That's why the creative exploration is such a big deal.
Exactly.
To gain that. So
exactly.
There's a question which is interesting.
Yep.
From TJ Nichols. Isn't the key takeaway blur is bad for tracking? Yes, but the problem is if you crank up the shutter speed, then you will have less motion blur, but then you will need to open the aperture, and then you will have depth of field. I mean, you're going to have blur anyway. That's the real problem. So if you can light a lot, why not? But if you're going on exterior, you at some point you're going to be constrained by the reality, meaning that you're going to have motion blur or depth of field or both. Yes, so you just put trackers on it, or you just plan your movement, and sometimes, it's going to be very difficult.
Well, sometimes the solution is to change your story, right? Or change that particular scene so that it says the same story, but in a different way. One thing I always remember, this is a slight digression. What is that film where a little girl is watching her home burn, but we don't see a single fire? We're just looking at the child's face, light, fire, and some slight reflections. And that captures more of the power of the emotion where a house is burning just by looking at a girl's eyes. So you will find ways to say the same story in different ways. But if you really, really, really need to track something, first of all, find the limits of your kit. Find those insurmountable problems that your hardware has. For example, I want to make a film and I don't have a camera. That's a hard thing to overcome. You cannot make a movie without a camera. Now, it may sound funny, but it's one of the extremes. Usually what I like to do is take the lower limit and the higher limit, bound the reality of what I have to deal with within the two limits, and then start solving the problem. So in the same way that if you have a specific camera which is not good at doing something, try not to do that something as much as possible. And the same thing applies with tracking. The biggest thing with tracking is to have information, both spatially, so between the camera and your background, to have features that the tracker can identify. And the second thing, technical thing, is to be able to have enough color depth so that those subtle changes in luminance, in contrast, which the trackers use, to be as strong as possible. And the higher the dynamic range of your camera, the more you can push those in a pre-post, in a pre-process, to create a black and white image that has more of those features visible. Anyway, back to the thing here, because this is the important thing. You would assume that, well, why not? I mean, it's got fairly stable windmills here and all that. The problem with this, when you're tracking it, is number one, you get these pillars coming in the shot and disrupting your automatic track. Once a track is loses its position, it will try and find somewhere to jump, or it will invalidate itself. So I went and cleaned this track from these using the content-aware fill, but it wasn't as good as I wanted it. And as much as I tried, I'm going to show you the result of what you get with an automatic track over here. This is not the train. I want to find where's my train? Let me just go and load it, because that's a fairly funny one.
This is before.
That's another inside train.
Okay.
Let me quickly skyscraper train next to lake, wind turbines, auto track fail. I named it auto track fail. Okay. So funny enough, the camera movement, when I solved this, let me go to the motion tracker. When I solved this, what happened is that the camera went in the opposite direction. In this particular case, this scene, it didn't work. So manual track, I'm going to go with the columns delete. So this is the footage that I did after I moved the columns, all right? Let me remove the sphere. So I removed those using contour fill. You can see it's creating a bit of a blurry situation, but it's a bit better. But funny enough, the camera thinks it's moving in the opposite direction. And let me go grab my camera object, solve camera. So the train is moving from left to right, and in the track, it's moving from right to left. So this may seem like a simple track. We're getting the overall direction, but you can see that the camera is tracking in the opposite direction, which makes it extremely funny. I don't know if it's because it's upside down or something like that. It doesn't really matter.
And it's shaking. It's shaking. I guess.
Yes, it is shaking. And that's because you can see the shakes happen whenever I deleted something, and there's an artifact somewhere there, like these things here. In this particular case, you can actually use a planar tracker. If you want to add more windmills or a point tracker and all that, you can get away with that, and with a few tweaks, just in a few minutes, if you want to add more of these. You cannot track this in 3D. There is nothing in between your foreground. You can't track the foreground. You can see all the motion blur. You can't track the background because there's no parallax. These are so far away that it just appears there's only this array of points right in the middle, and it's not enough because there's not enough information from here. Don't try and do the water, because the water is always moving. It's moving up and down. So this little feature here, you think it's here, but it may have shifted because of the different reflections or because there's a bit of a wave. So this will be a waste of your time to try and track using a 3D tracker. Now, I have another one with the inside train, and this is a funny one. This is a fully automatic track. I just put it in. It's 468 frames, and this is all automatic, great. And then suddenly, it went all the way to 335. Then it stopped because it became chaos. But watch the last portion of this. And I'm going to go to show my camera. I always show my camera because it's very obvious where the error is. Look how nice this is tracked for the biggest part. It even tracks the houses and all sorts of things that were not really visible when we look at it. It's absolutely fantastic, the amount of information that can come through the tracker. When I saw this, I was like, whoa, I was always amazed. But watch this. Things are moving. We have information. These trees, these rows between the background and the foreground are exactly the features that are giving information for the tracker to be able to track the camera. That's what you want to see, that your foreground and your background full of green features. And then suddenly we get to this. And now there are no more features. And of course, we step into our wormhole, and now the train is going backwards. That will be a very dangerous thing. If you ever find yourself in a train and it goes like this and suddenly goes sideways, something happened. But this is an indication of how you can have a single piece of footage where about half of it tracks perfectly, and then something happens. Even if these brushes were temporal, there's a good chance that you will lose your features after a while, because the feature looks so different that it can't, let's say, reattach it to the image that's been presented. So, yep.
It's an interesting example here, because I think we could just extrapolate the motion.
Well, what you do here, so here's exactly. So what you can do here is that you can bake your camera. So let's go and do a timeline. What time is it? Holy moly. It's late. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to let you do it. You bake your camera and you go and delete all these keyframes. And then what you do, you put a keyframe somewhere here that it looks straight, and make sure that in the same amount of time. So if this travels from 0 to 268, this distance, just make sure for the next 268 frames, it travels an equivalent distance in the same direction over here. And that's it. You have your track. So these are things you can actually do. Let's see, 37 people. We need to find a special prize for the people that watch us after 1 hour 20 minutes. So let me see, what else do I have? I'm just looking at my cheat sheet. I have to grab my second mouse. Oh, wait a minute. Let's show our beautiful faces here. No, I prefer this one. There you go. While I'm just making sure that I covered everything I wanted to cover. And now I can't find my, oh, there it is. Oh, that was quick. So lack of parallax, what I was talking about. What else? The terrain, the train, track in stages, and then connect what I showed just 2 seconds ago, which is the best screen to show this. Yeah. So track in stages. Over here, you get a good track and extrapolate the motion, as Lionel said. What else? Adjust the footage, as I mentioned earlier, and become. So in my view, I think I'm going to stop showing the screen unless you couldn't pay me to stop watching. Oh, Brad, thank you so much. That's heartwarming. Yes, usually a linear keyframe would work wonders. Exactly. As Aidi says, sometimes the solution is so simple. If you don't know what the solution is, you might be hellbent in trying to track this, this blurry footage. Don't. It's all fake, right? Fake it. That's the best thing to do. If you can do this without using the tracker and just create a camera and just estimate if it's moving properly, add a couple of spheres, then do that. So let's see. TJ Knuckles. Yeah, tragic. But yeah, we're doing a better job than the public sector or the trains are doing. Okay. And what I wanted to say something else. What did I want to say? I want to say there was a question. Let's see if there was a question here. Better to shoot at a high frame rate. That was the question. The plugin that can fix the middle is called Sweat and Tears. That is the world you got yourselves into. I have no sympathy for motion graphics artists, so just enjoy it. In a positive or negative way, just enjoy it. Right? So, yeah, I think now I can show our beautiful faces here. And let me get hide this. There we go. So what I'd like to say is, first of all, a thank you from the deepest part of my heart for everyone that has been tolerating us for the last 1 hour and 45 minutes. Catch us on the next Master Trainer, where we can give Dustin a hard time, please. Right? Do it for me. If you have no questions, just do it for me, because I like to torture Dustin for some reason. I do that with all the people I love. And yeah, if you have more questions, post them. I'm always, well, pretty much most of the time available on Twitter at NosemanGR. you got the links from Lionel and Dustin. Let me see if we have any banners here. And where is, producing my stuff. Oh yeah, Lionel doesn't have a social media presence. That's why he looks so healthy, I think.
Exactly.
And there you go. This one, I'm going to show this one, cghacks.com. Go and check out Dustin's work. Ask your questions at NosemanGR. You can find me. If you have scenes, when you have questions that involve specific setups, always provide a scene with the minimum, the absolute minimum amount of elements that show that. No third-party renderers if the question is not about Redshift or standard renderer. I don't have any other renderers. You can send them to Dustin and Lionel if you have third-party renderers. Keep the simplify your scene, because most of the times when you're simplifying a scene in the process of sending it, you find the error. And make sure that the mistake is reproducible, or there's some sort of lack of knowledge. If you have footage which you can't track, send the footage. Make sure you don't break any copyright rules. Just make sure about these things. Everything you send stays confidential. If I'm going to do a tutorial about something you're going to ask, I'm going to ask you first to make sure if you want that footage or scene or anything like that to be shown in public. And yeah, I think we're at that point now where I'm going to go to the comments and see the last few comments. Thanks. You're very welcome, Michael. People like you are making the field fun, so thank you. Yeah, I'm funny as well. I think I'm mostly funny than smart, but yeah, I can upsell both. Yeah, ask questions. Everything we do here comes from you. If you don't tell us what the problems are, we cannot provide you with the solutions. And yeah, that's all we have. Do I use the intro loop, the outro loop? See, I don't know that stuff. I don't do.
Yes, we're supposed to.
I'm going to put the intro loop as an outro loop. It's lovely seeing everyone here.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. Take care.
And we're still here.
Yes, end broadcast.
Dustin is left.